Today, we're looking at Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose is a red ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into a different pen for a day. Finally, I put it into a Pier Cardin with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's take a look at the sciencey bits. Up first is a chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down, I dunk it in the water immediately for 10 to 15 seconds, I then let it creep up. And what we see here is a darker pink line, and it works its way up, and then we get this sort of a darker line as it becomes a bit more red, but it's a very dark pink at the top with a very dark red line at the top. Now the one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into the water, and we see a very dark red line at the bottom, but that's the only difference between the two. The rest of the chromatography looks just like the one that was done the way it's supposed to be done. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on paper and how hard it might be to clean out of your pens. Now when we look at the highlighter, what we see is that it doesn't all, but like the H definitely feathers out. So this might not do well if you have to highlight in your notes. Water reactivates it, starts lifting a bunch off the page, but not all of it off the page. And I only gave it 30 seconds. I didn't wipe, I dabbed. Pen flush does just like water, but pulls a bit more. We see, especially as we get towards the word flush, where it starts showing a bit of gray or the white from underneath. Bleach is pulling it completely off the page. It only had 30 seconds there. Given a little extra time, it would completely come off the page. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose has a viscosity of 1.74, which we see is in the orange, and it is very much a wet ink. Very wet ink here. So it shouldn't have any flow problems in just about any pen. To find my average dry time, I use the extra fine and medium nib on my writing samples for Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being 13 to 21 seconds. Now, Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose has an average dry time of 14 seconds, which is completely normal in how it performs. So despite being very wet, normal dry times. Now let's get to the writing sample.
I've got this ink in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I'm using a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao XM50 with a Goulet extra fine. Looking at Clairefontaine, no bleeding, no ghosting. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. We get shading, not a ton, but it's there. Little spots. The C to the K. The bottom of the B, up, top of the L. The A to the N, top of the G, the S. So we do get some shading with the 1.1 stub. Looking at the extra fine, no feather, no spread. No halo, no sheen. Definitely getting some shading, which is tough to get with the extra fines. Some shading, not a ton. 10 seconds to dry. With the medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Same amount of color variation that we got with the extra fine. It's there. It's not in your face, but it's there. We see in a scrubby, we're not going to expect a whole lot. We definitely expect more out of the medium than we do the extra fine. And I don't know that you get to save it if you smear. Looking at Tomoe River, we have no bleeding. We have ghosting because reasons. 1.1. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. It's gone. It's nice red, but it's gone. On the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. It's gone. Toneway River killed it. 15 seconds to dry. With the medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. Toneway River killed it. 19 seconds to dry. We look at the scrubby, we see that we're not going to get any color variation. And I can't recover if I smear. Moving on to Rhodia. We have no bleed. We have no ghosting. With the 1.1, we have nice crisp edges on those letters. But we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Definitely getting color variation when we look at on the bottom of the R to the top of the R, inside the G to the right side of the G, left side of the S to the right side of the S. So we are getting some color variation, but it's not dramatic. It's not dramatic like your Apache Sunset, but it's gentle. It's sophisticated. It's English. Extra fine. No feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. No real color variation. If it's there, I can't see it. At 11 seconds to dry. Medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Definitely getting color variation, though. Look at the word quick. Look at the word fox. Look at the middle of over. 14 seconds to dry. And when we look at the scrubby, what we see in the scrubby is we definitely get color variation of the medium. It looks like we should have color variation of the extra fine. It just doesn't show up. Now on the smear, it doesn't show on camera, but I could recover that smear. So I went to get G. Lalo paper. It's a laid paper. I just figured let's check some nice papers. We have no bleeding. We have no ghosting. The dark color, what does that do to this color? It actually lightens it up. Look at how that red gets lighter and gentler. So part of the idea is hopefully we can bring out some of the shading that this ink can have. It has really good shading with the right pens. These aren't necessarily the right pens, but I try to stay consistent, so that's what I'm using. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, definite shading. Look at the S to the H, the R to the O, the K to the S. Definite shading going on. And with the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Definitely shading. Look at the word dry. Look at the word over. Look at the word lazy. We're getting shading with the extra fine. 6 seconds to dry. On a medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Shade. We have a shading red ink. A beautifully shading red ink. 7 seconds to dry. When we look at that scrubby, we see we will have color variation in our writing. And the smear, nope, you lost it. So I went to Original Crown Mill. Let's look at another laid paper, see what happens with them. We have bleed in where you put it down the heaviest on the scrubby, but no ghosting. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. We lost it. Extra fine. With the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. It's lost. Has somebody found my shade? Because it's lost here. 6 seconds to dry. With the medium, we start getting a little back. It gets a little darker as a tone on the paper. We have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen. Little bits of shade. Just little bits of shade. Not tons of shade, but little bits. 8 seconds to dry. When we look at the scrubbies, we're not expecting shade in this ink on this paper. It just doesn't show as having any. Now when I look at the smear, it's gone. Now I forgot to show this, but when I took my notes and I used the Pier Cardin President and, or President, hold on, there we go, President with a medium, it's generally a wet pen. It generally does okay. We have spots of shading. Again, a wetter, broader nib seems to bring out more of the shading. I sort of wish a flexi pen was up at this point. It just wasn't. And I go with the order they're in. This is a nice red ink. It does not have the shading that the Black Swan and Australian Rose has, but it does have nice shading. It's a gentler shade. You don't have the stark jumps in the shading moments. So I would consider this one of the better shading red inks that are out there. That's all I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose, I prefer to find an ink that would complement its color on the page. With Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose being a red ink, I've chosen Private Reserve's Ebony Green because of its green color. Now, before I give my opinions on this ink, I would ask if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Noodler's Black Swan and English Rose? I don't see a lot of red inks that shade very well, and this might be the very best shading red ink that I have come across. If you like mixing inks, this ink might be a very good candidate for mixing with because of the shading properties that it gives. Thanks for watching.